Hello, everyone. My name is Afrin Rahman, and welcome to part two of our resume building series that we're doing for product managers. And we have back with us Khanjan Desai.
So currently I'm working at PayPal. I'm a senior product manager here. I am in the pricing team. And prior to this, I was again in a fintech company, Razorpay, where again I was working in the neobanking space. And then before that, I did my sort of like an MBA from ISB, and then before that, I worked for around 3 years with with Bain and Vodafone Idea. So,
well, Khanjan, let's get back to the second topic, which is types of product management interview questions that we have. Now, the very first questions that I have for you in today's episode is, what questions are usually asked if you're just generally going for the interview round? What are the general questions that are asked in a product manager's interview?
Right. So I'll categorize the types of questions asked into a couple of sections, right? So the first primary one is obviously your work experience and resume walkthrough. And while the question asked is simple, walk me through your experience, etc. But I think the recommendation that I'll give is to also make that a product walkthrough kind of an answer where you are able to suggest and clearly articulate what was the product, what was the problem, which were the customers being addressed, and then what did you do. So essentially the star format for your work experience. And then the second type is the product sense and product thinking kind of questions, where it might be a case that is unrelated to that particular company who's interviewing you. So let's say if you're interviewing at Google, maybe the case you're asked about is of PayPal or of whatever, right? Razorpay. So we don't know whether that'll be the same company's case asked. It really depends on the interviewer and their patterns. And so it could be something like very primary, something like design, let's say a birthday reminder app, or if you're at Facebook, how would you change the comment section or comment capability, anything, right? So hypothetical cases which will sense your abilities to arrive at a narrower problem from a broad problem area, which will sense your ability to understand the objectives and articulate them, your structure, your organizing capabilities, and what data points do you talk about and what solutions do you sort of recommend. So there are various frameworks. So if we talk about what possible types could come under these, would be your root cause analysis questions, your product strategy questions, maybe execution based questions, or simply strategy questions, right? And the tougher interviews usually will have a combination of one or two or more types of these. So it could be everything in once, right? So you really have to assess this in your mind, that what is the real question here. And I think spending more time on understanding the problem is the key for this category. And then the third category is purely technical or purely maybe design led or very specific questions which might be pertinent to that particular company. So if they're looking for something for specific skill set, or maybe a software understanding, or maybe some kind of technical architecture understanding, then it would be that is the third category.
All right. So that's great. So, what are some kind of technical questions that comes your way? Because I think preparing company specific questions, you can still Google it and find it out, or, read some case studies. But what are some kind of technical questions that are usually asked in a product manager, interview?
Yeah. So again, this spans, so this would be depending on the level of technical understanding the company is seeking from you as a product manager, right? It is not same for all roles and all companies and all categories. But if I have to give a more generic answer, I'd say something which could judge your understanding of the software development lifecycle. So right from what have you done in terms of API integrations, or let's say if a new software is being installed, or if let's say a new company is being acquired, how would your platform architecture change? What would you do to ensure the challenges that come up are being met with, or something around how will you deal with tech debt, or how will you deal with the backlog that's not being addressed to for majority of the time. So maybe project management aspects. Then there could be specific questions on certain software. So let's say if you're expected to know about Salesforce, or if you're expected to know about ERP, how this ERP systems work, if you're expected to know about the retail integration bit, if you're, let's say, interviewing for a retail company and they expect you to understand how the Shopify integrations work, or how different kinds of companies can sit and get hosted on your platform, right? So the breadth of these kind of questions is a lot, but how do you prepare for them is just look at the job description. I always keep on reiterating this, that job description is your gold mine, right? There is where you get all your questions answered. Basically, the skills that they are looking for, the buckets that they are looking for, and the kind of experience that they are asking. Preferably, everything that will come up will be, not preferably, but mostly everything that will come up is basis that. And so technical questions are also not, they don't really comprise that bigger percentage of the overall interview in general. So that's a good thing, I guess.
All right. So now if, because I've seen there is a lot of technical preparation that goes into it. So, and company specific questions, if I come down to, that, what kind of company specific questions are usually asked? Like, do we really have to, get some case studies prepared? What are certain examples of company specific questions that you can tell us to prepare for PM interviews?
I think, so this is I'd say this is a very broad question because there are so many companies and types. So I'll give the best tip to prepare about this is simply go to Glassdoor or whichever company has these questions logged in by the real interviewees, right? So you'll get your question bank there. I, for one, was, so even at INSAID, I think we do offer some kind of help around this. There's some question bank. When I was at ISB, we had a handbook that our seniors used to prepare. So I would say that just talk to people to get these company specific questions because they are very nuanced. So for me to give any one example is sort of going to be very arbit here. But if I just if simply put, let's say it's a company like Amazon, which is into, e-commerce industry. They might ask you about certain metrics which are specific to e-commerce industry, such as maybe increasing or average order values or increasing maybe the logins per day or DAOs and MAUs and, certain metrics that are specific to that industry and that company. They might ask you about design changes. They might ask you about experimentation that could happen for that particular website or that particular product, right? So these are some of the company specific questions. Usually the cases that you can prepare will be spanning across any, your structure and your framework should be prepared in such a way that it's not for one particular company, right? I think when you're prepping for an interview, do all your homework about that company so that if any question comes on the vision or the theme or the metric, you have some idea. But the good thing about product management interviews is you can always ask more questions to the interviewers, and they are very helpful in giving you additional data. They are helpful in guiding you to make assumptions. And they also help you out with the logical flow of the interviews, right? So it's not like a stress interview or I don't know. It's not like how other industries.
I think someone who's giving the interview, it will be quite stressful for them because, like I'm seeing, there's general questions, technical questions, and then company-specific questions, right? So the preparation is, I think, it's there.
The prep part is, yes, the preparation, as you said, is very extensive, and which is why practice is a key. What people think is just reading books and just reading frameworks and maybe doing courses is going to be sufficient. That's not. Doing mock interviews, doing practices, and understanding your own style of conveying what information you want to convey is extremely crucial. So so that's pretty much about the company specific questions.
Thank you so much, Khanjan. I think this was a very in-depth explanation of different type of questions that we can expect for all kind of rounds, general, technical, or even company specific. Thank you so much for being part of this episode, Khanjan. I'm sure our audiences will find this episode very, very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.